Hi there, we're gonna make the best tomato basil soup today. And it's dead easy. It's so easy you're gonna be like, I can't believe no one told me how easy it was to make this soup, or I would have been making it this whole time. So we're gonna make it. My name is Karen Kennedy, and this is For Real Food Matters. Your simple tomato basil soup. I've got this saucepan. How big is this saucepan? 8-quart, 3-quart saucepan. I like a nice heavy bottom pan. So you can get these great all-clad stainless steel saucepans. I can't afford them. But buying really good cookware is such an important investment. And you don't have to buy entire kits of things. I mean, it's nice to, but I find I don't want an entire set of the same kind of pan. I like different types of pans for different things. But when it comes to saucepans, I have this 3-quart and then I have a smaller one. I have 2 smaller ones. And they're from Cuisinart. And Cuisinart makes a whole range of quality lines. They have a multi-clad that's kind of like an all-clad and fairly expensive. This is just their a really heavy bottom version, kind of a mid-range that they have. And I love it. It's perfect. Because if your saucepan is too thin on the bottom, everything burns. Like I have a cheaper Cuisinart pan that I only use to boil eggs. Like I can boil water in it because that's not going to burn anything. But it's awful. It burns everything else. You need the bottom to be really heavy. So this soup is just onions, garlic, and tomatoes. Those are really the main ingredients in this. I'll show you all the ingredients in a minute. But I've heated my pan up on medium-high, and then I'm putting in a couple tablespoons of oil. And then I'm going to add my onions. So I chopped my onions before I got on the camera today. Putting that in. It's nice and sizzly, so that tells me it's hot enough. So I chopped up an onion, but I chopped it up really roughly. I didn't make any effort to chop it up small because this is another one of those pureed soups. I'm going to make the whole thing and I'm going to blend it into this nice creamy cream of tomato basil soup. So there's that, and then as always, I add my salt to my onions because it helps them break down faster. So I'm adding doing about a half a teaspoon of salt, quite a bit. And then I'm going to give that a stir. I want to coat my onions with salt and oil. And then I'm going to, oh, where's my lid? There's my lid. I'm going to cover this and I'm going to sweat my onions. And I like to do this when I don't necessarily need my onions browned. I just want them nice and soft, like when I'm doing a soup. So I'm going to sweat this for 5 minutes. I turn my heat right down to low. So salt, oil, onions, lid, low, 5 minutes. So while that's going, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the ingredients. I'm going to show you everything that's in this. So in addition to olive oil, the only thing you need for this is 1 onion, a couple cloves of garlic, depending on how much you like garlic. So do our onions and garlic. And then we're going to add some herbs. And you can use any kind of sort of Italian seasoning. I like herbs de Provence. And then I'm going to add 1 quart of tomatoes. I use home canned tomatoes, but you can get a quart of tomatoes from the supermarket. And then I'm going to use chicken broth. Now this is frozen chicken broth that I made a couple of days ago. Remember, do you remember the shortcut to good homemade chicken broth? You just glug in, how much? Maybe 2 cups of chicken broth from a box, and then add a tablespoon of unflavored gelatin. And that's going to give it that rich collagen silkiness. Okay? So you got your chicken. You're going to saute your onions and garlic and your herbs with salt, tomatoes, broth, and you're going to simmer that until things are soft, and then at the end add cream and all that. But we'll get to that. So don't lift your lid while your onions are sweating. I'm going to push pause, and then we're going to come back when it's time to do more things. Okay, so the onion has been sweating for about 5 minutes, and then I took the lid off and turned the heat back up so it was nice and sizzly. And I've got really nice, kind of soft onions, which is great. So the next thing I'm going to add is my garlic. And remember, I know a lot of recipes say saute your onions and garlic for 5 minutes until soft, but remember, garlic burns very quickly. So saute your onions with salt by themselves, and when they're soft, add your garlic. And if you have ginger, you add your ginger at the end too. These are aromatics. I'm not going to bother mincing my garlic because we're going to blend this up. So I can save myself a lot of time doing that. So throw in the garlic, and then I'm going to add some of my dried herbs, my herbs de Provence. Love this herb blend. If you're in the Battle in Clark County, you know that Garden Delights, Erin Harwood and her mom that run Garden Delights, they do herb blends, and they do a blend like this. Italian seasoning. I think they might do a herb de Provence. Let's see if we can find a link. But I'm just going to add maybe half a teaspoon of this because we're going to really flavor this up with some basil or pesto at the end. All right. So I'm just going to sizzle that. Whenever you use spices or dried herbs, it's always a good idea to, if you can, to fry them to give them a really high heat cooking. Whereas if you have fresh herbs or pesto, like fresh basil that you pick, or fresh cilantro, fresh parsley, those are always added at the end. Because if you cook them, you're going to lose all their aromatic properties. You're going to lose some of their flavor. You want them to taste really fresh. Whereas dried herbs, it sort of wakes them up, makes them bloom if you fry them a little bit. And that's enough. All right, so the next things are our liquid ingredients. So this is going to be a cream soup, but I'm not going to do a roux. So this is a gluten-free soup. It is not a dairy-free soup. So my liquid is going to be a combination of my tomatoes and my chicken broth. The exact quantities aren't really important in this. So like I said, I've got a quart of tomatoes and I've got about a cup or two of chicken broth. So that's what you can aim for. If you've not made this, I know I'm always kind of winging these recipes because I make them a lot, but I understand if you're not used to making soup, that it's nice to start with exact ingredients. It gives you a sense of security. It certainly does me. So I'm 4 cups or 1 quart of tomatoes, 2 cups of chicken broth. That'll do you. All right, that's fried enough. And now all I'm going to do is add my tomatoes. They come out. And my chicken broth. When I thawed this out, I set this frozen chicken broth in like a tub of water so that it's been thawing all day, but it didn't thaw all the way. I've still got a big chunk. And I'm going to turn this up to high to bring it to a boil. Do I have any water? I do. But I'm going to rinse out my tomato jar and my chicken broth container here. And you know what I think I'm going to do? I think while I have this cold water rinse, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of extra unflavored gelatin to that because, you know, it adds a little protein. Collagen's really good for you. And whenever you add unflavored gelatin or collagen to things, most of the time you need to add it to cold water first and let it dissolve and then add it to your pot. Okay. Now so I sweat those things for 5 minutes and I just added these things. And now I'm going to bring this to a boil and I'm going to let this simmer for 20 minutes would be good. If this was the middle of the day, like if you're on a baby schedule where you just put a baby down for a nap and it's, 1 o'clock or something and you've got an hour and a half, please, to get some things done, you could do this now and let it simmer and just put it on the back burner on low or even turn it off and then get it back going just before dinner and finish your soup. But for me, I'm doing this it's 4:30 and I want to eat at 6. So I'm going to let this simmer while I do some other work around the house and then I will come back. I'm going to push pause and I'll come back and show you how to finish it. So bringing that to a boil, adding my dissolved gelatin, putting the lid on. I'm going to set a 3-minute timer so I can come back and check when it's boiling. And I'll see you back after that's simmered for about 20 minutes to 45 minutes. Okay. This has been simmering for about a half an hour. So you can see we've got soft onions, cooked tomatoes, and herbs. And I'm going to eat soon. So the only things left to add are cream and pesto. So if you don't have pesto at home, you can just buy pesto at the store. And I've got that, but I've also got some pesto that I thawed out. And I'm going to finish using this. So put a little bit of this in. And I'm actually going to use a little bit of both. Don't be afraid to add quite a bit. And then cream. I'm going to add some organic cream, and I think I'll add about half a cup to a cup. You know, the rule with cream soups is the more cream, the better. If you have fresh basil, even fresh basil from the supermarket, I think that tastes the best. I didn't plan ahead. This is a meal I always have. I always have tomatoes. I always have cream. All these ingredients. This is an easy soup that you can make. But if you plan ahead, get some fresh basil. I think I want some more cream. There, that's it. That is your creamy tomato basil soup. I love this. I'm going to make toasted cheese sandwiches to dip in this tonight. And I'm going to try to make a salad to go with it. But you know what? Even if you're just like, oh, I just ran out of time to make vegetables, you've got tomatoes, onions, and garlic right here. So I hope you make this. It's good. Everybody likes it, and I mean that. Thanks for watching. Bye.